Alright, we'll go ahead and get started. So, welcome to Google Developer Group's DevFest 2022. I think this is the first one that we've ever had here. So you're part of the pioneering crowd here. Well, thank you for coming to my talk. I'm calling it accessible content, but I'm already hating my name. I want to call it something else, but we'll see when we get there. I am Israel Duke. I'm your speaker for this session. You can find me on Twitter at Israel Duke, LinkedIn, Israel Duke. Something about me is that I think I like my iPad more than my computer these days. I don't know if the iPad is a computer, but we'll let the marketing people at Apple debate that one. Obviously, I'm a Mac user. If you have an Apple Watch, I have a free app called Duffy on the App Store, which will put your steps directly on your Apple Watch face. So it's kind of a side project of mine. I'm also the lead UI and UX designer for the state of Louisiana at the Office of Technology Services. If you've seen the Pelican design system, that's one of my children. So this also means if you find problems with it, you know who to blame. But we'll go ahead and move forward. So today I'm talking about accessible content, but ultimately what I'm talking about is empathy. Putting yourself in the shoes and the position of your users. Because one of the biggest mistakes you can make as a developer or a designer or a product manager or anything is to think that you know better than the users. Yes, you may be creating the product and playing a part in creating the product that your users are using, but you're not the user. You're not going to experience it the same way they do. You know how it's built and you know what goes into it. They don't. Quick poll, how many developers do we have in here? All right, designers? Okay. I'm going to pick on designers and developers a little bit because we're the ones that do the bulk of the work. We actually have our hands in the product when it's being built. Am I going to dazzle you today? No. In fact, I'm probably going to make you uncomfortable. Because you're actually going to sit through an uncomfortable experience twice. And then you're going to experience that same uncomfortable experience twice more, but with less discomfort. I think I'm the first presenter that may actually cause people to leave the session unhappy with me. But if you leave the session unhappy with me, but you've learned something and you make your products better, then I've done my job. What I'm actually going to show you today is a screen reader and how screen reader users have to consume the products that we build. Now what I'm going to show you is an overly simple, contrived example, but I'm using this to get a point across. We're going to listen to the screen reader, read through a simple page, as I said, twice in VoiceOver on Mac, and then twice in VoiceOver on iPhone. Apple puts more love in VoiceOver on iPhone than they do VoiceOver on Mac, but people still buy these things. And if you test your product with the screen reader on your phone or your laptop as you're building it, if you can get it to work on one screen reader, it's going to carry over through other screen readers. But let me tell you a little story before we do all of this, and a little bit about something I learned recently. A couple of years ago, my grandmother had to move to an assisted living facility. We got her smartphone because she wanted to get cat pictures and text messages from all of us. Because she heard that myself and the other cousins were sending each other silly cat pictures. And she wanted those too. So we got her smartphone. We start off with an Android, and then we tried an iPhone later. She didn't like Android. And she's 90. The Android was difficult for her. But as it turns out, it wasn't just the Android, it was both phones. And the reason she had problems with that is, number one, she couldn't figure out all the menus and all the navigation and all the accidental presses. Because you see, when she grew up and when she first entered the workforce, she used something called typewriters. That's these that puts letters on paper, right? I think you find them in museums or something. And my grandmother had fingernails, long fingernails. And she remembers she could take her typewriter and use her fingernails to push down on the keys and put the letter on paper. Well, she brought that same mental model to using the smartphone, and she was trying to use her fingernail to push the keys, but the keys weren't being pressed, because the touch screens on these things need contact with skin to basically complete the circuit. Well, by the time we got her to understand that you have to push down with your fingertip, she was actually pressing it like this, and you know those keys are tiny. So she was hitting several keys, and then she didn't want to use the backspace, that's what she called it, and she couldn't get the messages across, and she eventually just gave up. Well, my grandmother passed away a couple months ago, and she never got the joy of cat pictures. Well, how does that translate here? Well, that's when I saw that, it was an aha moment for me that some people don't have the same digital literacy that we do. Those of us here in this room, we're probably power users. We probably go to sites and we can forgive mistakes that the designers or the developers made, or the DevOps or back-end people. But not everybody gets that same privilege. Recently, I was talking to the Director of Educational Technology at the Louisiana School for the Deaf and Visually Impaired. And he told me that if you can make a digital product work in one screen reader, it's going to work in other assistive technology, with some exceptions depending on what kind of assistive technology it is. And he said, because they're all using the same standards. And so when they're developing their assistive technology, they're all looking at WCAG and W3C standards for how to build this stuff. So if you have a laptop, you have a smartphone, you have the ability to start testing for this stuff. So to begin with, we're going to take a look at a sad pancake. So the name of this talk is accessible content, but I wish now that I had called it friendly content. So what we're going to start with first, I'm going to play this overly simple contrived example site through VoiceOver on the Mac.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Household content vertical line def 2022 vertical line is Route Duke. Google Chrome incognito window. Household content vertical line def 2022 vertical line is Route Duke web content as keyboard focus. You are currently on web content. To enter the web area, press Control Option Shift down arrow.
Now the first thing you've noticed is that this thing talks a lot. Because the people that use this aren't just blind. Sometimes they have a visual impairment. Maybe they have weak vision. Or, as I've recently learned, some people who will drive, they'll play a website they wanted to check out on their phone as they're driving. So they'll use VoiceOver. Or if you have an Android, it's called TalkBack. But we'll go more into that as we go along. Oh, and by the way, at the end of this, it's going to be a question and answer round with IHOP gift cards. Because I'm committed to this whole full stack pancake topic. I mean, if I'm going to put you in a sticky situation, might as well let you get something out of it. Plus, there's something that we know about UX called the peak end rule. You probably know it. That people remember and experience most when they're at their most extreme emotion, whether positive or negative, and how they felt at the end. So what I want to do today, at one point, is make you miserable, and then at the end, make you happy. Okay, so what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to make VoiceOver read this whole page, and it's going to take about a minute or two. And as cringy as you feel, I'm feeling just as awkward.
Household content vertical line def 2022 vertical line is Route Duke web content. Full stack breakfast. Pancakes. To get missing image descriptions, open the context menu. Unlabeled image. Pancakes are amazing. Only silly people don't like pancakes. Ingredients. Wallet. Butter. Wallet. Batter. Wallet. Honey. Wallet. Jam. Wallet. Bananas. Thinly sliced. Right parenthesis. Directions. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 2. Add in the thinly sliced bananas. 3. Add butter if desired. 4. Keep a frying pan or grill over medium to high heat. 5. Serve hot. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 2. Add in the thinly sliced bananas. 3. Add butter if desired. 4. Keep a frying pan or grill over medium to high heat. 5. Serve hot. 6. Repeat for each pancake. 1. Pour batter into a large. Link. Click here. For more recipes, vertical line. Link. Click here. For extra recipes. Waffles. / I'm FJKP.SCI74 and 2148 unlabeled image. Waffles are amazing. Only silly people don't like waffles. Ingredients. Dream about the ingredients. Wallet. Butter. Wallet. Batter. Wallet. Honey. Wallet. Jam. Wallet. Blackberries. Directions. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 2. Add in the blackberries. 3. Add butter if desired. Can you have too much? 4. Heat the waffle iron until hot. 5. Serve waffle hot. 6. Repeat for each waffle. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 2. Add in the blackberries. 3. Add butter if desired. Can you have too much? 4. Keep the waffle iron until hot. 5. Serve waffle hot. 6. Repeat for each waffle. 1. Pour batter into a large. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 2. Add in the blackberries. 3. Add butter if desired. Can you have too much? 4. Keep the waffle iron until hot. 5. Serve waffle hot. 6. Repeat for each waffle. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 2. Add in the 1.
Oh,
Pour
come
batter into a
on!
large bowl. 2. Add in the blackberries. 3. Add butter if desired. Can you have too much? 4. Keep the waffle iron until hot. 5. Serve waffle hot. 6. Repeat for each waffle. 1. Pour batter into.
Alright, I just paused it because it's rereading this last list multiple times. And there's a reason for that. Alright, we're now going to look at, or rather listen to, the same website
VoiceOver off.
in VoiceOver iOS. But before we do that, let's scroll up here. We didn't go over this ahead of time. I didn't show you what was on here. Because as sighted people, we can look at a site or a page and just visually scan and find what we want and ignore everything else. Screen reader users don't get that luxury unless we give it to them. So on this example, I intentionally wrote, the technical term is, quote, some dirty, stinky markup. Visually, it looks okay. But the markup in the HTML is rotten. And at one point in our life, we've all written some rotten code. All right, so now we're going to look at it, iOS.
VoiceOver on Safari, full stack breakfast.
You've already noticed the voice on this is a lot more pleasant. Sounds more human even. Again, Apple puts more love in VoiceOver iOS. I also recently told you that I was speaking to the Director of Educational Technology at the Rouge School for Deaf and Visually Impaired, furthermore known as LSDVI. And he said that of all the students, all the faculty, and the adults who leave, they've all got iPhones. There's one or two who use Androids. Now, he didn't say why, he didn't say one was better than the other, he was just telling me what he saw. And when they go to conventions for other schools like this, he said iOS is overwhelmingly the preference. And he said that smartphones, all of them, having greatly increased the quality of life for blind people and visually impaired people. They can order food from Uber Eats, they can order rides, they can use apps such as Be My Eyes. It's actually helped them to experience more life, and because they come with built-in screen readers, they don't have to buy JAWS or set up something complicated with NVDA. It's really opened up their lives. Now we're going to hear the same exact page in iOS, the whole page.
Full stack breakfast, pancakes. 77,633 HDFN for 35J3FCJPG. Image. Pancakes are amazing. Only silly people don't like pancakes. Ingredients. Butter, batter, honey, jam, bananas. Thinly sliced. Directions. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 2. Add in the thinly sliced bananas. 3. Add butter if desired. 4. Heat a frying pan or griddle over medium to high heat. 5. Serve hot. 6. Heat for each pancake. Click here. Link. For more recipes, vertical line. Click here. Link. For extra recipes. Waffles. IF size 74, IRD 48, area 8488.jpg. Image. Waffles are amazing. Only silly people don't like waffles. Ingredients. Dream about the ingredients. Butter, batter, honey, jam, blackberries. Directions. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 2. Add in the blackberries. 3. Add butter if desired. Can you have too much? 4. Heat a waffle iron until hot. 5. Serve waffle hot. 6. Repeat for each waffle. Click here. Link. For more waffle recipes, vertical line. Click here. Link. For more waffle recipes. Address. iceforallduke.com. Secure. Private. Collapsed.
Okay, this one didn't repeat that last list 8,000 times. Guess what? Screen reader software is like other software, it can have bugs. And there are lists of screen reader bugs out there in GitHub, and they're working on them. But as you see, some screen readers get more attention than others. You know, that's a market thing. Okay, we're gonna go back and I'm gonna show you, we're gonna switch back to macOS VoiceOver.
VoiceOver off.
I have shortcuts with the side button on my phone. Triple click turns the screen reader on and off. And what I'm not going to go into is showing you all the various gestures and multi-finger gestures that you can use to navigate things. I'll show you a couple, but not all of them. But I encourage you to go and look this up on your own. Okay, going back to macOS VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Household content vertical line DevF 2022 vertical line is Route Duke. Google Chrome incognito window. Link. Click here. Has keyboard focus. You are currently on a link inside of web content. To click this link, press Control Option Space. To exit this web area, press Control Option Shift up arrow.
Thank you. Done. One of the things that I'm showing you in VoiceOver for macOS is that it's got all of the default settings. I haven't changed anything. There are studies that show that users don't change their settings. You people change your settings, but normal people out there who are just living their lives and not watching, GitHub and Verge and Apple.com for all the new stuff, they often don't change settings. And they often don't go looking for new settings to change. They're not digging through menus to see what happens if they change this, remove this plugin. They just use what's given to them. In VoiceOver iOS, I've changed some things for the sake of this demonstration, but I elected to leave the macOS version default. All right, so we're still on the hostile content page here. I'm going to open something called the rotor, which, if things are coded to standards, the rotor gives the user options for navigating the page. So, wrong one.
Window spots menu.
All right, I've opened the rotor. As I use the left and right arrow keys, it'll switch between, it'll rotate through menus. Window spots refers to Chrome's window.
Links menu. Link. Click here. Link. Click here. Link. Click here. Link. Click here.
Is that going to be useful to someone who only has an audible representation of a page? Again, as sighted users, I can read, click here for more recipes, right? And I know that there's a visual association there. But the way that screen reader users, especially the extreme ones who need our care, they don't have this two-dimensional representation of the page. They actually experience the page in time. In time, and in a sense of how much have I listened to so far. It's a whole different mindset. Alright,
Without spots menu.
well,
Links menu. Without spots
guess I've
menu.
got nothing else here. Okay. At the end of this presentation, I'll make this presentation available to you, which has links to surveys of screen reader users, as well as some of the common aggravations for screen reader users. This will change the way you design and will change the way you develop things, because you're starting to think more about how other people are using this. Alright?
F. VoiceOver off.
I'm still learning my shortcut keys for this. Alright, now I'm going to show you almost exactly the same page, but this time I've endeavored to make the page friendly for screen reader users. This time I'm going to show you the whole page before I make you listen to it, because now we have a frame of reference. If you think back, what we saw earlier, the screen readers in both platforms just read what was on there and did their best to audibly represent to the user what they were seeing. Remember all the bullet butter? The screen readers saw the HTML entity, ampersand, VULL, semicolon, bullet, and I'll show you that. It knew how to read that. But there's some characters the screen reader does not know how to read, so it just does its best. Remember when we saw the images? Remember what you heard there? What you heard was the file name. Because there was no alt text or alternative text. There's nothing in there that describes the image to the user, so the screen reader says, well, file name. Now, if you were manually creating a site and you name this delicious dash pancakes yum dash yum, okay, that gives them a little more. But what often happens is people are using content managed websites, and often that content management system is going to assign a random, weird, unique ID hexadecimal file name for whatever reason or another. And that's not wrong, but the screen reader users need a little more information. And you notice it also, as it read all the headers, it's just reading the text. It's just spitting out what it's giving. Well, now what we're going to see is what the screen reader can give the user if we put a little more love into this, and we're stirring this batter to serve it up well, instead of just, spilling all over the kitchen. We're going to start with macOS VoiceOver.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Friendly content vertical line DevFet 2022 vertical line is Route Duke. Google Chrome incognito window. Friendly content vertical line DevFet 2022 vertical line is Route Duke web content as keyword focus. You are currently on web content. To enter the web area, press Control Option Shift down arrow.
When you're using the screen reader, you can control the speed of the screen reader. I saw an interview once with a Finnish developer, completely blind from birth, who used the screen reader. He was bilingual English and Finnish. His screen reader would read Finnish to him at 10 times the normal speed. That's his mother tongue. He listened to English at 4 times the normal speed. And he could actually assemble basic layouts, because he understood just from his own training. This is a developer. This is not a normal person off the streets. And he knew that something could go here, and there could be what we think of as a side menu here, and he could start putting basic markup structure into place. I wish I could be as badass as him. Alright, so I'm going to start reading, I won't. VoiceOver will start reading this entire page, and you're going to see I made some content choices along the way, and we'll review that.
Friendly content vertical line DevFet 2022 vertical line is Route Duke web content. Heading level 1 full stack breakfast main page content complementary. Heading level 2 page content list 2 items bullet link go directly to pancakes bullet link Go directly to waffles, what we'll learn, and one more item, region, heading level 2, what we'll learn. We're going to find out how to make pancakes and waffles. This page contains ingredient lists and directions for pancakes and waffles. Let's start with pancakes and then we'll go on to waffles, horizontal splitter, pancakes, and 10 more items, region, heading level 2, pancakes. Pancakes are amazing, only silly people don't like pancakes. Pancakes with bananas, strawberries, blueberries, powdered sugar, and honey. Image, heading level 3, pancake ingredients. We need 5 ingredients to make fluffy pancakes. This list will tell us what we need to get. List 5 items. Bullet butter, bullet batter, bullet honey, bullet jam, bullet bananas, thinly sliced. Heading level 3, pancake directions. Making pancakes isn't hard. Here's the directions. List 6 items. 1. Pour batter into a large bowl. 2. Add in the thinly sliced bananas. 3. Add butter if desired. 4. Keep a frying pan or griddle over medium to high heat. 5. Serve hot. 6. Repeat for each pancake. 6. Repeat for each. That's it. Now you're ready to make your own fluffy and warm pancakes. Let's move on to waffles now. Link. Return to page content. Horizontal splitter. Waffles. And 10 more items. Region. Heading level 2. Waffles. Waffles are amazing. Only silly people don't like waffles. Waffles with blueberries and honey. Image. Heading level 3. Waffle ingredients. We need 5 ingredients to make crispy waffles. This list will tell us what we need to get. Tap here for ingredients. Collapse disclosure triangle group. Tap here for ingredients. Heading level 3 waffle directions. Making waffles isn't hard. Here's the directions. Tap here for directions. Collapse disclosure triangle group. Tap here for directions. That's it. Now you're ready to make your own crispy waffles. Link. Return to page content. Horizontal splitter. Let's clean up. And 2 more items. Region. Heading level 2. Let's clean up. Did you enjoy learning how to make pancakes and waffles? Hope you did and that you're ready to share with your friendly web makers. Be sure to check out other speakers' presentations here at Link. DevFest Baton Rouge. Be sure to check out other speakers' presentations here at DevFest Baton Rouge. You are currently on a text element.
You notice I read that last sentence twice? That was still much better than what it did before. I'm going to turn on VoiceOver so I can.
F5 button. You are currently on a button. VoiceOver off.
So one of the first things that I did is in between sections I added some transitional text to describe to the user, hey, we're here, we're going to cover this stuff, and now we're going to move over to this other part. Now there's transitions to prepare them for what they're going to hear, especially when they're being spoken to at a fast rate of speech. And now the links actually say, go directly to pancakes, or click here for pancakes, instead of just click here. I'm going to go back into, also, the bottom for waffles. I put the ingredients, and I put the directions inside of a native HTML detail summary element, which visually unclutters the page, but the user would have to stop and invoke that element to actually turn it on to hear the list. Is that wrong? Is that right? I don't know. It's going to depend on you and your users and what they're going to need. But when you use native HTML, we get a lot more. Had this been a JavaScript collapse, screen reader may not have been able to identify it as such. All right, I'm going to go back into this and turn on the rotor.
VoiceOver on Chrome. Friendly content vertical line DevFest 2022 vertical line is Route Duke. Google Chrome incognito window. Tap here for directions. Expanded disclosure triangle group has keyboard focus. You are currently on a disclosure triangle group. To click this button, press Control Option Space.
Screen reader users can control the verbosity, how much they're read to, but as I told you, I wanted you to feel the pain of this, because most users won't turn this off. Now let's go to the rotor.
Without spots menu.
Okay, remember that one.
Links menu.
Oh, look at this.
Link. DevFest back. Link. Go directly to waffles.
What happens if I press return?
Link. Go directly to waffles. You are currently on link. To click this link, press Control Option Space.
They automatically get some value out of what they're being read to, and if someone hates pancakes, they can go straight to waffles. Let's go back into the rotor.
View web content. Line wrap. Unfriendly content vertical line. DevFest 2022 vertical line. No items in links menu.
Okay.
You are currently in a VoiceOver menu. This is a list closing links menu. Web content.
Sorry.
You are currently on web content. No items in links menu. No items in tables menu.
All right.
VoiceOver off.
Let me start that again, sorry. It went to
View event.
source.
Module 2 begins. View event. Module 2 begins. Displayed. Show navigation panel. Execute search. Advanced sort. Toggle notification. All selections cleared. You have one new message. Anonymous from.
It's reading from a different tab from something going on in a Google Doc. Didn't mean for that to happen, I apologize. Okay,
VoiceOver on Chrome.
one more time.
Friendly content vertical line DevTech 2022 vertical line is allowed Duke. Google Chrome incognito window.
I feel just as
Friendly content
awkward
vertical
as
line
you
DevTech
feel uncomfortable
2022
right
vertical
now.
line is allowed Duke. Web content as keyword focus. You are currently on web content. To enter the web area, press Control Option Shift down arrow.
Alright,
Links menu.
this is what I wanted. Alright, so we're back in the rotor, and as a user, I can begin switching the rotor to get what's most appropriate for my task.
Headings menu.
Look at this.
Heading level 1 full stack breakfast.
It will read out all the heading levels, and the number appended to the beginning tells me what level header that is. That directly corresponds to the heading tags, H1 through 6, etc. So I
Heading level 2 waffles.
could use this to go straight to the waffle section. Or
Form controls menu.
it's telling me all the items which are hidden behind the detail summary disclosure element.
Landmarks menu.
Landmarks are a way to tag large groups of the document. In the links that I'm going to provide you at the end of this, there are two main ways that premier users navigate a page. If they have landmarks, they'll use that, because that lets them bypass lots of stuff. But if there's no landmarks, they'll use heading levels. So we've got landmarks if they use it.
Without spots menu. Links menu. Headings menu. Form controls menu. Landmarks without spots. Links menu. Headings menu. Form controls menu. Landmarks menu.
So which one do we want? Somebody say something. Delma, you go first.
Oh, I was just about to record you.
Oh.
I'll go with landmarks, but
Okay.
Full stack breakfast. You are currently on a main inside of web content.
So if I tell it to start reading right now, it'll start from this part of the document. If I go to,
Landmarks menu. Without spots menu.
alright, somebody else pick something. Somebody be my volunteer. Okay.
Links menu. Headings menu.
Which one?
Waffle directions.
Heading level 3. Heading level 3. Heading level 3. Waffle directions. You are currently on heading level 3.
So if I start reading it,
Heading level 3. Waffle directions. Making waffles isn't hard. Here's the direction.
it'll start from that spot. Okay. We'll do this one more time. But iOS voiceover.
VoiceOver off.
VoiceOver on. Safari. Full stack breakfast. Heading level 1. Banner. Landmark.
You heard the words banner and landmark. It's identifying sections of the document already. By the way, landmarks, banners, headers, screen reader users become accustomed to those terms as ways of being told that, hey, this is the part of the document that you're inside of. So what I'm going to try and show you now, because this takes some ninja hand magic, I'm going to pull up the iOS version of the rotor. Let's see.
Landmarks. 6 edit. Tables. 0 table images. 2 images.
It tells me how many images are on the page. So if I stop here, and now I'm going to hold this up so you can see what my fingers do. If I swipe down with one finger,
Pancakes with bananas. Strawberries. Blueberries. Powdered sugar. And honey. Image.
hey sweetie, can we go to IHOP after this?
Waffles with blueberries and honey. Image.
All right. Somebody on this side of the room, pick landmarks or headings. Headings.
Landmarks. Headings. 10 headings.
It already tells me how many subsections of document there are. And so if I, one finger down,
Waffle ingredients. Heading level. Waffle directions. Heading level. Let's clean up. Heading level 2.
I'm gonna start
Let's
reading
clean up.
from there.
Region.
Two finger
Landmark.
tap. Make me look bad. Oh,
Let's clean up. Heading level 2. Let's clean up. Region. Landmark. Did you enjoy learning how to make pancakes and waffles? Hope you did and that you're ready to share with your friendly bread makers. Be sure to check out other speakers' presentations here at DevFest Baton Rouge. Link, vertical scroll bar, 5 pages, 100% adjustable, address, iceforallloop.com, secure, private, collapsed.
All right, that last little doop is telling me I got nothing more to read to you. But what if I want to go back to the top because I just want to scroll? See if I can get this right. I've got to do that with 3 fingers, swipe down. Nope. Oh, swipe.
Address, DevFest 2022, friendly content, vertical line. Let's clean up, heading level 2. Let's clean up. Rate page 5 of 5. Full stack breakfast, heading level 1, banner. Landmark, page content, heading level 2, page content. Complimentary, landmark, bullet, list start. Go directly to pick.
All right. I won't make you sit through all of that again. Because I know you're like, I get it, Israel. Okay, I'm going to turn off VoiceOver.
VoiceOver off.
A takeaway that I want you to leave this session with is that you already know that other people don't think like you. How many of you have had a spouse or a significant other, and at times you thought, oh, why don't they just get it? Or maybe you thought about your parents. Maybe you thought about your grandmother. She just doesn't get it. Mom, grandmother, I don't use Facebook. They don't think like us. Does not mean that they're worse than us. But people that use our products don't think like us. They don't know what went into this. We actually have a responsibility towards them. Because some people, the internet is how they get things done. And if they can't use the site for some reason, they may have to wait for someone else to come and help them use it. And that can affect the timing of whether they receive services, check their bank account. I even heard a case of a blind person who, during the day, went to the OMB website for their spouse. Well, guess what? That's not the use case that we were taught to expect. You don't know where people are coming from or what they've been through. And we know that there's a lot of bad shit in the world right now. We can't control, we can't help everything. But one thing we can definitely affect, we can make our products a little easier to use. And we have an immediate effect on that. So we actually have some social responsibility. It's to our customers. If our customers can use our site, we sell more stuff. I think if Domino's Pizza, and you may have heard about Domino's Pizza. You know what? If Domino's Pizza doesn't want an accessible site, let them do it. But you're losing out on a lot of money, and you had to pay a lot because you didn't want to spend 30 grand extra. They had to put out an extra 350 grand for settlement. Think about that value proposition. All right, I'm done making you feel uncomfortable. So I've got a couple of questions now. I want a developer. Developers, what will you do? Tell me one thing that you will do to make sure that VoiceOver is going to read the page properly. Developer, somebody say something.
First thing we're gonna do is go back and sit down and look at our public-facing website and have it read it. Close our eyes and read it. Listen to it and see how terrible it is or how good it is, and then propose ways that we can fix that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, by the way, these cards each have $5 on them, but one of them is $5.01. So somebody gets an Easter egg. All right, a designer, not you, Rick. Sorry, I work with you. You hear this too much. Who are the designers in here? Delma. And what's your name? I don't know you.
Rachel?
Rachel.
I'm
What's
not.
up? Hmm?
It's not fair for me to answer.
Okay. Rachel, tell me something that you're going to do as part of your job.
I'll make sure that the images have like alternate text, that sort of thing.
What if your developer doesn't want to do it? That's right. All right. Is there anybody here that's not a developer or a designer? Okay. What's your name?
Lindsay.
Lindsay? What do you do, Lindsay?
I'm an information systems and social sciences major, so it's basically MIS.
Okay. What are you, in your job, in your first job after school, if you're working now, what are you going to do to bring this awareness to your team?
I would definitely like show them how just it's not very clear, like it's not precise in how difficult to use it is for people who need this.
It's not a good answer.
Awareness.
I lied. It's a good answer. All right. Somebody blurt something out that you took away from this.
Landmarks are a thing. I don't want to keep that.
Okay. Okay.
It's useful to think of the page in a linear fashion as opposed to the modular fashion that you use visually. So think of it in a linear fashion as the uniform perspective of web pages.
What's your name?
Uh,
Clinton? Good answer. Yeah, I'm glad you said linear fashion, because we get to skip over things. We get to take shortcut menus. We get to do all kinds of things, but they don't get to do that. I would also encourage you, Google videos where you watch users of assistive technology, how they actually physically touch the keyboard or the screen. If someone has had an accident or if they have cerebral palsy, they can't use a mouse, so they rely on the keyboard. And you may have noticed that VoiceOver adds its own focus indicator around things. That's in addition to the focus indicator that you may or may not have on the page. Okay, we'll go back through here. I think we're going to do well on time. Well, I showed you the happy pancakes. Made you smile, I hope. We've already done the review. I got carried away there. So you may be asking, why pancakes and waffles? Why did I use that instead of pictures of code and stuff like that? The reason I did that is because not taking the time to learn how to make a product accessible is basically like showing someone, inviting them over to eat at your house, and then at the end telling them, no, you can't have this. You can watch me eat it. And that's kind of a bad move, right? So in a way, a website has food for people's minds. That may be how to do something, how to apply for a job, school, or something. You're depriving them of brain nutrition. There's another thing I want to talk to you about. There's a lot in here. You know, there's a lot we have to learn as designers. There's always new software. Somebody's buying their competitor, maybe, and hopefully they don't shut Figma down, did I say that? Or there's a new JavaScript library, there's a new CMS, or there's another version of .NET Core, or there's another browser. There is a lot to keep up with, and it is overwhelming. We have the luxury of picking and choosing what we learn. And so if we can make an effort to at least just be 1% better each day, at the end of the year, you're almost 4 times, if I did that math right, better than you were at the beginning of the year. If you're only 0.5% better each day, you're still at least twice as good. You know twice as much as you did before. The CDC says that there's one Louisianian out of every 3 who has some kind of a disability. There's a lot of mobility-related disabilities in Louisiana, which means they really can't use a mouse. They rely on keyboard traversal. I've got links to screen reader surveys, the top 10 accessibility problems, WCAG guidelines. You'll see this stuff yourself. But the last thing I'm going to show you is, and I wish I had done this 2 seconds earlier, please forgive me. On the left side is the hostile content. On the right side is what I think is the friendly content. Now, can y'all see that, or is it too dark? Okay, I'll switch that to the light thing. Sorry. It's gonna be bright, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. showing you is to say you have to do it this way. Your product is gonna be different. And if you're a developer, you're gonna be a developer, better developer than I am. So you may know more than I know. But here's just other ways of thinking about it. Left side, instead of a heading, I just used inline styles. That didn't tell the screen reader that was a heading. Visually, it tells sighted people it's a heading. Whereas here on the right side, I have a landmark, a header tag, and inside of that, I put the H1, and it now knows this is for the whole page. We've immediately got it set. Here, for the pancakes heading, it's just a paragraph. But here, on the right side, I've got an aside tag, which the screen reader knows this is related to the page, but it's not really page content. It's something that supports the page. Then I have a section tag. Section tag with an aria labeled by, which has a value that matches the ID of the heading inside of that. And so now the screen reader will name this section by the contents of the heading tag, because I've linked the ID and the aria labeled by is valued together. Now some screen readers might do it a little differently, but they're all going to take some of the same cues. All right, I don't have time to go over everything because Ricky's talk is coming up at what, 11?
Yep.
Okay, so I need to give him time to set up. So what I will show you is this at the end. Here you can go to a site that I set up on my website, DevTest22. It's got the HTML files that I did here. Feel free to tell me all the things that I've done wrong and that you would have done better. And it's got a PDF of my presentation. And if you think, hey, he could have done this better, feel free to drop me a line or just want to say you talk too much. Anyway, thank you all for coming to my talk.